Welcome back to my channel. So today I just kind of wanted to talk about another experience that I had, and this was kind of in a season of quietness. It was a season where I wasn't really getting as much, like it felt like it was dying down for me. So basically, um, I was kind of praying and asking, Christ, I was asking God if I'm still going to be receiving things, or if I could still hear him, because when you go from having these experiences and hearing and seeing visions and everything, and then it kind of goes quiet, you start thinking my is he still listening to me? Is he still going to talk to me? Is Christ still going to guide me? Like, you start having these thoughts. So I know it's ridiculous, but I ended up praying, and I was asking for a sign. And I was like, I just want a sign that you're still hearing me, you're still listening. And I asked for an owl. I said, can you send me an owl? Because I live in the city and I don't see owls here. And it was probably about a week later, I went to bed, and again, I heard in my mind before falling asleep, I heard Alaha, and it's Alaha. And I wrote it down, but I didn't want to look into it because at the time I was thinking, I don't know if I want to, it kind of scared me because it sounds like something else. I didn't want to look into it, and I just went to bed. And then the next night I woke up for some reason, and it was really early in the morning, like 3:30, 4 in the morning. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to look up this word. I got to see what this word means. And I found it is Aramaic for God. So that made me feel better. And I was trying to go back to sleep. And in my mind, I heard da, da, da. Like very, boom, boom, boom. And my first thought was I was thinking, is this like gibber? This sounds like gibberish. I don't speak like this. I was like, why would I hear that in my mind? And I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. Because I was like, this is weird. I was like, I thought it was just like a hypnagogic, moment where you just had something that didn't make any sense. And I was trying to fall asleep. And then I heard 3 hoots of an owl. It was hoot, hoot, hoot. 3 hoots. And I sat up in my bed, and I was like, if there is an owl outside my window, I am going to be shocked. Like, this is crazy. So I went up to the window, opened the curtain, and there on the light pole, utility pole, was an owl looking at me. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this happened. So I took a picture of it, and then I went back to my bed, and then I started researching, and I was like, I think da means something in another language, but I found that it was Aramaic for this, this, this. It's like a very demonstrative this. So I'm taking it as that is the interpretation, that this is the sign, because it came in 3s, and then I had 3 hoots. I know it sounds crazy, but it happened. So, yeah, I mean, I find that sometimes it's just a word. Like another instance I had was, it was just a couple months ago. I wasn't feeling very well, and sometimes I have anxiety and I start spiraling where I'm thinking kind of like a hypochondriac, where you're like, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. And I remember I was kind of spiraling about it, and I was trying to go to bed, and I was like, I'm just going to sleep it off. And the next thing I know, I get a word, and this isn't a word that I use. I'm familiar with it, but it's definitely not a word that I use at all. And it was trepidation. So I even had to look it up just to see, double check the meaning, which it was like the anticipation of something causing fear, anxiety. So then I knew at that moment that I was being told, hey, this is all like you're doing this to yourself. It's you're in your head. So that was like some other message that I had. And then another one that I recently had, probably about a month ago, was I take my whatever I receive, I try to research it and interpret it as best as I can. And I take this very seriously. Like, I don't ever like to speak in absolutes, where I see a lot of people have videos that say, God is telling me to tell you that this is going to happen, and it's going to be for this and this and this. And I guess that's hard for me to understand, because maybe I'm receiving something differently than other people are, but I don't ever want to mix the message or alter it in some way where it's, I don't ever want to mislead or say something false, because if I receive something and I'm interpreting it a certain way, and then I tell people that, like, factually it's this when it's not, then I would be made a liar in God's eyes. So I definitely don't want to do that. So I try to make sure that I, interpret it as best as I can, and I don't try to tell people that this is 100% what it means, but everything that I receive is just my personal interpretation. But I don't know 100% for sure if that is what was intended. So anyway, with that being said, I was basically praying, and I was asking, I was like, I'm like, am I doing everything all right? Am I interpreting things? Am I hearing things correctly? I just want to make sure I'm doing things right. I'm like, I just don't want to offend you. I was praising him, and I was telling him, like, I don't ever want to offend you. I hope I'm not offending you. I don't want to do anything that's offensive. And I was trying to fall asleep, and I mean, it takes me probably a good 5 or 10 minutes. And I remember I heard letters being spelled out to me, and it was H-A-U-D, and it came in like that, H-A-U-D. And I was like, what is that? And then I was like thinking in my mind how it's pronounced, and I was like, howd. I was even pronouncing it, I think the way it's said is howd. And I typed it in, and I found out it was Latin for by no means at all, not at all. So that one is kind of like, when you get that stuff, you're like, wow, like, that's weird. And it still kind of weirds me out when I get this stuff, because I'm like, is this really happening? Like, it's like, I can't believe I'm getting this stuff. And I know some people are probably like, why are you getting words in foreign languages and everything? And to me, it kind of makes sense, because I'm such a skeptic that if I heard no in my mind, I'm like, is that my mind? Like, is it my imagination? So that's why, for me, it makes sense that I do get stuff in other languages, is to basically confirm to me that, yes, what I'm receiving is real, because I have no prior knowledge of this. And, it's my confirmation, basically, that what I'm receiving is real. So I prayed, thanked, Christ for giving me that message. And yeah, I mean, everything I get, usually it seems like it is a personal thing, but I do get other things that seem more worldly. For example, I did have a recent one, and I don't know what to make of this. And this is why, like, some people will get this message and they're gonna say, like, oh, this is what's happening and something bad's gonna happen. And I don't know what it means, but I know I received it, and that's all I can confirm. So I heard one morning, sanity will strike the ignorant. And then I heard some of God's people. And then I had a vision of a skyline, a city skyline. It was kind of overcast, and then there was a lightning bolt. And then after that, there was another image of that same city skyline, and then there was two, like, shadows or silhouettes of, like, angels. Like, I could tell, like, it was, like, kind of had, like, the wings. And I just took that as, like, two witnesses. So I don't know what it means, but it's definitely some kind of warning, I guess, but I don't know where. I don't know where in the world this is. Seems like it's a city. I don't know if it's like, you know, an informational thing, like sanity will strike the ignorant, like with the truth. I'm not really sure, but that's something I guess for you guys to pray on and, you know, determine and decipher it as well. So anyway, that's my video for today. So I have plenty more where this came from, and if I do receive anything new, you guys will be the first to hear it. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I would really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe, and have a good night.